What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Hyperbole. Hope you guys are doing well. Wow, we had a fantastic weekend this past weekend at Metazoo Games' official first competitive Earth Tower in New York City. Such an unbelievable time. This is the second tower that I competed in this year. We competed in water. We competed in Earth. It looks like we're going to try, the team and I, the Golden Inks, it looks like we're going to try and compete in the majority of the tournaments and towers throughout the course of this year, leading up into the big one, which is going to be the Caster Cup at the end of the year. So really exciting that Metazoo Games put together this structured format for, great players to come together, people in the community to come together and just sit down, enjoy the zoo, and, have a chance to win some pretty lucrative prize pools. And, it's pretty great that they're doing this to help draw in more people into the game, into the community, to play the game. We always encourage people to play the game. I very much so have started enjoying the Metazoo 10 times even more so than when I first got involved, because when I first got involved, I was a collector. I like to collect both sealed product and some of my favorite cryptids. We collect graded cards. We love CGC cards. But when I really started to play and learn how to play the game, man, the appreciation that I have for Metazoo just started to really go up from there. And then just, meeting and interacting with a whole different group of people, which is the players in the community, it really, opened up a whole new perspective with me. So I'm so glad that I did that. Guys, you got to learn how to play the zoo. You just got to get out there and play. But without further ado, I'm going to run through the purpose of this video is just to review my competitive deck that we used this past weekend. And it's 40 cards. I would encourage, some people have their opinion about, whether you run a little bit more or, 40 is the minimum requirement that you can have in a spell book. And what makes it difficult, there's a format. They put out a tower document which kind of outlines the guidance for, how you need to construct your deck. And the big thing is the 60% ratio. So if you're playing 40 cards, just to keep it simple, 24 of those have to be an Earth page type. Now that doesn't include an aura like this, and it doesn't include a Terra. And obviously it doesn't include other pages that aren't, Earth page type. So it puts some restrictions around, I guess, the format in how much of a variety that you can have in the spell book. But with the introduction, and we saw that in the Earth Tower format now, with the introduction of these fusion auras, and I'm going to show you some in my deck, in the introduction of more dual aura type pages, it really is opening up some flexibility where you could, put in some other aura types, but it's still considered a Earth aura type page. So without further ado, let's get into it. Pretty much staple, for decks, I would say maybe even casually, let alone competitively, is this Prism aura. Now, again, it depends on the format and how you want to play, and if there's any other restrictions. Like in water, we didn't see too many prisms because there were some page effects that let you draw additional pages, but only if you had water aura type pages. So we didn't really see Prism Aura in that format, but we saw a lot of it in Earth, and it's very versatile. It was the first specialized aura, came out in Wilderness. It's a 2-copy per spellbook. You can generate any aura type that you want with this, so it could be a lightning, forest, water, earth, spirit, dark, you name it, flame. You can create it with this one per turn. So we did have 2 copies, so that's 2 of our aura copies that we had there. And we're getting into some of the specialized fusion auras that we talked about briefly, which is these are the unearthly earthly stratum fusion aura. Again, another specialized aura, 2 per spellbook. We do have 2 copies. This is awesome because it lets you create either or, a spirit aura or an earth. And you're going to see how I use that in this format as we break down the spellbook. But we had 2 copies of this. Just such a beautiful card. We have another fusion aura that we're getting into as well. The Sylvian Mud Fusion Aura, specialized aura, 2 per spellbook. You could create a forest or an earth. Per turn with this. We had 1 copy of this. I'm going to set the spellbook down real quick. And here's where we get into some real beautiful cards These are the Flame. Such a beautiful card. So after the event, was able to catch up with Afton, and she put a couple doodles on these, Wendigo and Piazza Bird. These were 2 chases within the native set that just released. So such a big event. Like I said, the gala was on Friday night. It was official release weekend for the new native set and the competitive tower as well for Earth. So much going on with Metazoo. It's a good time to be a part of the zoo. But you could see these are just exceptional doodles on here, and really appreciated that she took the time to do this. So we had 2 of these. The Magma Fusion Aura, it is a 2 per spellbook specialized aura type. You could generate a flame or an earth. So we had 2 of those. That brings our aura count to 7. And to finish it off, the one, the only, the Possessed Aura, another specialized aura, 2 per spellbook. Interesting thing about this is you could use it to copy a page in the arena. Doesn't matter if it's on your side or your opponent's side. If it is in the arena, you could copy a flame, you could copy a forest, you could copy a spirit, you could copy any other aura type, but there has to be an aura present in the arena. So one of the things that, to consider if you're going to be using this in a spellbook is, if you're running 1 copy or even 2 copies and you get in opening position, meaning that you're going to go first in a game, if you get these in your hand and you don't have any other aura type, you're not going to be able to do any aura generating that turn. So it is a limiting factor to some extent, under those scenarios. But outside of that, when you're playing and relying on a lot of other colors to help make your deck function appropriately, it could be very, very advantageous. So I was using it to copy the spirit, to copy the forest, to copy the flame, and we'll talk through some of those mechanics. But I had 1 copy in the main deck, so that brings the aura count to 8. Now we'll get into some additional aura generating tools and resources. These are popular. Like I said, casual, competitive, you're starting to see it more. We saw a ton in water. We saw a ton in earth as well. So Artifact Earth Core, it's 2 per spellbook. It's a 0 cost, meaning you can just bring it in and lay it down on the board. It's got 50 LP, but when you fatigue it, it's able to generate 2 earth. So obviously it's a big resource generator. We'll talk through that. If it survives in the arena, you do get the benefit of generating 2 earth. There's another card, Absorb Aura. I have it in my deck as well, and we'll talk through that when we get to it. But another aura generating resource here. So Petrified Wood, 2 per spellbook. Again, 0 cost. You can just bring it right into the arena. It's got 50 LP, so not a lot of health behind these artifacts. But there's a couple different ways that you can benefit off of them. One, they last the turn, or you just absorb them with the Absorb Aura. This one's special in the sense that in Earth Core we saw it had the ability to generate 2 Earth Aura. These Artifact Essence specifically generate 1 Earth and 1 Forest. Which is beneficial, and I'll tell you why, especially for my spellbook composition here. So I had 4 artifacts, 8 aura. Those are all the resources that I'm using to help generate and make my deck work functionally. And, I think it worked out really well. I think some people ran a little bit more aggressive on 7 aura, and some people ran more conservative towards 9 and 10. So that's just one of the things as you start to play through the deck, you're going to realize what works best for you and what you're trying to do, and how costly the resources are within your deck to play. So our beasties, we knew this guy, the Tahinan, we knew this guy was going to be a really big component and pretty much across the board in everybody's spellbook. I would find it very unlikely that if we analyzed all the spellbooks that were submitted on the MPN for this event that all of them had to have this card. I would be very surprised if nobody ran it because it was just that good. So it was swinging for, with the Terra modifiers here, it was swinging for 145 damage, and it only cost 1 aura, the Earth Aura, to drop. It was a little squishy in the sense that it only had 45 LP, so it didn't have any life point bonuses, but that wasn't really what you were using it for. You were using it for, the big hits to help take out some threats, and you're also using it for an aura reduction opportunity too, because specifically when you put this in the arena, Beastie Giants costs 3 or less aura type, and it could be any aura type. It doesn't have to be Earth, so that was specifically unique to this event as well, because there were other aura type like giants that got introduced in native. So we saw dark, we saw water, we saw frost, we saw forest, and you're going to see some of those in this deck as well. But you didn't necessarily have to have the dark aura, the water aura, the frost aura, or the forest aura to make those work, as long as one of these were in the arena. If it was yours or your opponent, doesn't matter, it was an arena effect, you could play off the reduction there. So we had 6 copies of this. I felt like this was more than enough. When I was looking for him, we wanted it opening hand, obviously. Especially going second, we wanted it opening hand, ideally with maybe a lightning in the bottle, to help take board state control back if we were getting behind. But another big staple here, onto our next beastie. Beastie Worm, Cement Worm here, 4 per spellbook, has stone skin, has the burrow trait. It's 2 aura, earth aura to drop. Had 30 life points, but with the bonuses, it went up to 90 life points. And with the Terra bonus with City active, it actually swung for 60. The cool thing about this is it had an arena effect. Beasties with Fleet, which are beasties that come and awaken when they're contracted, they enter the arena fatigued. So as long as this was in the arena, again, doesn't matter if it was your opponent's or your side, if this was in the arena, anything with Fleet would not come in awaken. So pretty much the biggest things I would say, the new Forest Giant that came in, that everybody seemed to love, that was from the release event deck within Native, and Barking Spiders. Not so much. I didn't see that throughout the field, but it was another one that you could play that had the Fleet trait. Nobody was really much using this for its power, which was target pages lose stone skin. But, on the attack effect, if you were able to get this through and swing the caster, like I said, it was swinging for 60, but you also got to target an aura in the arena on your opposing caster side. And if it was fatigued, let's say it was this possessed aura, or maybe it was this flame, etc. But if this went through and hit a caster, your opposing caster, you got to do the 60 damage direct to them, and you got to lock this aura up, for a complete turn, meaning that they didn't have a resource or one less resource to use in their next turn. So a control mechanism, obviously, control mechanisms, I put them right in line with the defense mechanism. They're very important when you're putting together an overall strategy that has both offense and defense in it, that make your deck balanced. So that's kind of what I was going for. I think a lot of people did that as well when you're putting together a spellbook composition. But it's a 4 per spellbook. We ran all 4. I'm pretty happy with that decision. When I needed to do some siding, I would maybe go down 1 copy. Tommy Knockers, really, really cool card. Was on the fence about this one pretty much right into the end. It's a 4 per spellbook, 1 spirit, 1 earth, 50 life point. It had the spirit trait. Big thing here is it was swinging with the Terra bonus. It was swinging for 100, and it had 80 LP. Also had a power, that was kind of unique in the sense that, you could unequip a target and equip it to a beastie or artifact in the arena. If the beastie or artifact is not a valid target, destroy that equipment. So the big ones that we saw throughout the field were, Armadillo Man. When he left the arena, his destroyed effect, he could be attached to another beastie and basically be used as a smoky spirit, in the sense that if you attacked him and Armadillo Man was equipped, it absorbs all that damage and then he goes away. So that was a cool feature. And if your opponent was doing that, you could use Tommy Knocker. You could fatigue him and then steal that equipment. And if you had a giant, or you had another target that you wanted to protect, you could bring it over to your side of the board. The other thing that we saw a lot, which was a new card introduced in Native, was the Giant's Blood. Giants, we knew going into this, was going to be a popular build. Giant's Blood help introduce, the ability to have almost like a power-up red card as an equipment to a giant. But again, there were some key scenarios where I had Tommy Knockers in the arena. I was able to use its power and take that Giant's Blood and put it on my own giant. So really, really cool. Also use it as a defense mechanism against Cement Worm, where Cement Worm was hitting for 60. I could leave this up Again, it has spirit, so it can't be targeted directly by an attack. Could leave it up as a defender, and when Cement Worm would attack and try and maybe lock down an aura or attack like a Tahina into mine, I could block, take all the damage because it has 80 LP, and then do a hunter back and kill that Cement Worm. So that scenario played out a couple times and was very useful, and it warranted because of all that flexibility in the format. I had 4 copies. I felt like that really, really worked well for me in the main deck. Speaking of the new giants, we talked about that. This is the Odizio Beastie Giant, new for native, defender, stone skin, 2 water, 4 earth, 170 LP times 2, with the defender trait when it's your opponent's turn. Also has the tribal boost of Beastie Giant, which is cool because you like the, like fearsome critters. We love the tribal boost, any other giant on the board could be your opponent's. Again, it's an arena effect or yours. You're going to get that 10 life point and 10 attack damage for each additional giant in the arena. This one has 2 Terra modifiers here, but there was only one that was active in the format. So it was swinging for 150, 30 times 3 plus the 60. So you're up to 150. And if you had an LP buff or an attack buff due to other giant, you could swing for a little bit more. The contract effect was really, really not useful in this format, at least. On the attack, though, also has a supplemental effect. If you control at least 2 water aura pages, you could bookmark one. Yeah, so what I was saying there, in a water format, where this is a water and earth page, maybe it's more useful that you're going to get that bookmark generation ability, but not really in this format. So I had 2 copies just because it was a good defender. Again, with Tahina in the arena, you could reduce it by 3 and bring those in. This guy was a big boy. Pretty favorable, I would think, across the field as well. Dazovitz, 2 dark, 4 earth, 170, has the fear and stone skin. So instead of defender, like we saw with Odizio, this one had the fear trait. So for fear on contract, you get to roll, potentially, fear a card back up from the arena into your opponent's hand. Could be really useful, especially for, beasties that might have been real difficult to deal with. If your opponent got a Piazza Bird out, the new Piazza Bird, or maybe another one of these giants, and you didn't have an answer for, you could fear it back to their hand and, help flip the board state. And I saw that in a couple games. I did it as well in a game. It was a really big swinger. Also has the tribal boost, but it's got the desert and the mountain, so you've got 180 plus the 60 with scared on the attack. So that's its effect. So pretty cool there. And then it also has a supplemental effect, meaning that this attack deals X damage, where X is the total amount of bonus LP this beastie has. So that comes from the tribal boost. If you had Giant's Blood equipped to it, you get the benefit from that as well. So there was a couple other ways that you could really buff this up to make it a huge swinger. Had a cool arena effect in the sense that this beastie ignores the effects of flying and cannot be destroyed by dark spells. Really cool there. It was a way, if you didn't have a card in hand other than maybe this in the arena, to deal with Piazza Bird if he hit the field, because it was a big card just because of how powerful it was. So you could run 3 copies of that. I was running 2 in the main, and then one of the other really big cards in the format was this Cardiff Giant. 1 per spell book, has the stone skin, has the defender. It's a 2 neutral and a 3 earth, 120 LP beastie. Did get buffed up to 150 LP and swinging for 95 with the Terra modifiers there. So all beastie pages, a really cool arena effect. All beastie pages you control cost 1 less aura, or not arena effect, I should say, just an effect on the page that would only benefit you. But all beasties you control can cost 1 less earth aura. So really cool, card. One thing, that I guess some people underestimated was, including myself, I got caught up in a damage calculation scenario. If you attack Cardiff directly and he is awake, he can, fatigue, tap, and bring in 3 different 1-drop aura. So specifically select up to 3 earth aura beasties in your limbo or cemetery and show them to your opponent. You pay the aura equal to the cost -1 for each beastie selected to place those beasties in the arena as defenders for the attack targeting Cardiff Giant. If you do, Cardiff Giant is destroyed and sent to the afterlife at the end of the turn. He still is the primary defender, but you also are able to bring in all those beasties back. So, you know, for an example, you could bring in 3 of these. So super, super huge, you know, card for a lot of different reasons. You know, and then just a crazy, I mean, really a crazy card. Piazza Bird here. So 2 flame, 2 earth, 1 per spellbook, has flash, flying, and stone skin. 100 LP. You know, it's got 40 desert, 40 mountain, you know, times 3. So it's hitting for 320 as a base on its attack, which is magnet heat with 7 burn attached to it. You know, the other thing that I had here, if Magma is within eyesight, this attack deals an additional 80 damage if you have contracted at least 4 flame or earth spells with different aura page names this turn, you win the game. So that's a really crazy win con condition or winning condition. But the Magma, you know, comes into play because of this, you know, Magma fusion aura. So let's take a quick look, come into focus here. And here you go. So this Magma does activate because Magma is in the name of this fusion aura. So with that in the arena, this is swinging for 400. Like I said, super crazy. Really help control the game. But, you know, that's all I can really say about it. He came in a lot of key scenarios to help deal substantial damage. Let's take a look. Still going through the primary spell book, we had Lightning in a Bottle ×3. We have Absorb Aura. We also talked about the utility of that with the, you know, whether it's not consuming your own resources and, you know, doing the aura consumption, generating 1, bookmarking 1. Again, bookmarking was pretty huge. So I ran with 3 copies in my main deck. Felt like that was beneficial. It just kind of depends how many you're running, you know, and how many you anticipate that your opponents are going to run in the format as well. New Year's New Beginnings. Some people played New Beginnings. I like the New Year's New Beginnings just because it's more aggressive in the sense that you're going to force a complete card dump of up to 7 cards instead of just recycling, reshuffling 7 cards with New Beginnings. And then I was able to run the Growth, another huge page for me in the format. If the plant is within arm's reach, come back into eyesight. You know, you could bookmark 5 pages from the top of your spell book. We did have the Sylvian Mud Fusion Aura. We had our Fusion Auras. We had a Possessed Aura where we could copy, you know, a forest if we needed. We had Petrified Wood, which generated a Forest Aura as well. So we had plenty of ways to potentially generate a Forest Aura, which would be needed to contract this, at least 2 of them. So that was the main composition. That's 40 cards. Had my side deck profile here. We'll run through pretty quick. Had 1 more Possessed Aura. You know, again, if I felt like I was going to change up my strategy and I needed another copy of an aura, if I wanted to reduce either an Absorb Aura, you know, one of my non-earth pages, I could sub this in again. If I wanted to completely switch a strategy out, I could use a different type of fusion aura, Vidus Fusion Aura, which is a water or an earth generating fusion aura, you know, to bring in specifically a Blue Man of Louisville, you know, 2 water, 2 earth, has the Spirit Stone Skin, you know, so really cool thing here. He put in, you know, on contract, inflict scared on target beastie every time he attacked. It had the scared effect attached to the his attack, and it lets you bookmark 1. You know, so I felt like that was a good combination to warrant, you know, just to switch it up when needed to go on my side. Another really crazy beastie here, not on the attack side, but on the defense side. This Luit. 6 per spellbook, a beastie deity, 1 earth, 1 forest, you know, 55 LP. But super crazy. You know, it had a 25 buff here, 25 buff here, ×3. So you're up to 150 plus your 55. So you're at 205, you know, which is insane. And then it's got the defender trait. So on your opponent's turn, it's got 410 life points, which is just crazy. It also has the arena effect. All flame and beasties with aura cost of 1 cannot be the target of declared attacks. So you can use it to protect your beasties, especially your Tays. We didn't really see a lot of 1-drop forest flame beasties in this format, but another really, really cool effect of this page. So here it is, the Key Waka. Key Waka. So this guy was pretty incredible. He had the fleet, he had the stone skin, but we talked about, the cement worm kind of nullifying the fleet if that was in the arena. But it's 2 earth, 3 forest, 160 drop. It's got some additional life point boost here. So it's up to 220 life, and it's up to 120 hitting. It's got the tribal boost, again, the Beastie Giant. On contract, if you say, you look tasty and lick your lips, this Beastie gains plus 10 for each caster in the game, plus 10 life points. And then it could also do a Giant Crush, which up to 3 target beasties are dealt a total of 20 damage. So that would be its power. Didn't really see that used in this format. It was just, in combination potentially with Cardiff, for example, where if you had Tay in the board, you or your opponent, and if you had Cardiff, this was only a 1-drop, which is pretty crazy. So again, it's really, really could be critical. I probably should have put it in the main, but it was in my side. Morpheus, being able to sleep beasties that were difficult to deal with, maybe a Tommyknocker, maybe, one of the Giants, maybe a Piazza Bird. I had 2 copies of Morpheus, and I had enough spirit and with my prisms, possess, to be able to make these work. So I had 2 copies there. Earthquake. Again, a lot of beasties that had the burrow trait. This one deals 50 damage to all beasties with burrow if they are currently burrowed. If they are no longer considered burrowed. So there's a kind of catch-22 there. With Stone Skin, you can't deal damage to target beasties, with the spell. So this is a spell. You could actually run 10 per spell book. Nobody ran that many, but a couple copies would suffice if you're really, really having trouble with the burrowed trait. So I had that in there just in case. This is a unique card that came out with Native as well. Another spell, Behemoth Stampede. 1 neutral, 3 earth, 3 per spellbook. Target opposing caster is dealt X damage, where X is the sum of maximum LP from beasties you can control. So if you've got a couple beasties on your board, specifically the Giants that have all those life point buffs, you drop this 4 cost there, and then boom, you play this spell. You might deal 400 or 500 damage in a turn just by playing 1 card. So again, pretty crazy. A chance to give you some comeback potential as well, to be able to bust through to a caster if the opposing caster has some defense set up, because this just target caster directly and they can't block it. So really, really cool. I had 2 copies of that. And then, to finish off my archive list here. So first, anniversary celebration. It's a 1 neutral drop. It deals 25 damage, but then it nullifies all traits on target or on pages, including yours, until the end of your next turn. So again, it's circumstantial. You would want to use this, depending on how the board state was established, both yours and your opponent's, because it does remove your traits, or not remove it, nullify your traits until the end of the next turn. So you don't want to play this if you have, if you're in the lead. You can maybe play this if you're behind and you needed just something to deal with some beasties that you were having an issue with. So for an example, Piazza Bird, you could hit it with 25 damage with the first anniversary, nullify its traits, so I wouldn't have Stone Skin. So it's actually interesting. I'm not sure the order of sequence that this would play out. If because it does 25 damage, but then it says nullify all traits on pages until the end of your turn, and that's under its damage attack. So I'm not sure if the order of operations would actually be, because this has Stone Skin, meaning it can't take damage from spells, if this would take the 25 damage or not. So If you guys know how that scenario would play out, drop it down in the comments below. I'm interested to hear it. But regardless, it would remove the traits, and it could get it down to the ground where one of your other beasties, maybe a Tay, maybe one of the giants could swing and finish it off. So that's pretty much going to do it, guys. That was my spell book. I thought it ran really well. In the tower format, there's a lot of things that come up. I think definitely going first, that's the consensus. Always gives you a competitive advantage. You want to keep good starting hands, especially to get your board state established. Those are just super, super key pieces of information that you could take with you as you're thinking about constructing, a deck. For the next format. Again, you never know what cards are going to be really, really beneficial until you start, understanding. I think first and foremost, all the Terra modifiers. That's great. I'm taking a little bit of a break till they release the Terra modifiers for Forest. So we got Forest and Flame Tower coming up, with the next 2 towers. So excited for those 2 towers again. I don't think it's any need to work ahead of the clock and try and forecast or predict too many what's going to be active in the format in regards to the Terra modifiers. So we'll just wait till those come out. And then we'll just start studying. You got to put the time in. You got to look at the cards, understand the interactions. As we kind of broke this whole deck down and how it worked and how it countered, other beastie cards or spells maybe, or just scenarios that were going to be pretty prevalent, that the majority of people were going to play. So, you got to have answers to different outcomes. And when you put together a spell book, that's what the side's for. If you're having difficulty dealing with this, maybe you could make some swaps out, and that's a skill in itself. We're still learning how to get better on that. And I'm just excited. End up coming in 55th for this tournament. Wish I would have came in a little bit more. We finished 4-3, so with a positive record. I think I played well. I made one critical mistake when I played Fred in my round 6 by attacking his Cardiff, and wish I could replay that, but I can't. That's a learning lesson, guys. You're gonna make mistakes. That's okay. As long as you learn from them and try and recap, what went wrong and what you got to do to really evaluate not making those again when it counts at the next event. So I appreciate you guys watching. This has been a long video, but it's a complete, thorough breakdown, at least as much as I could do, without boring everybody to death about how I put my deck together. Thank you guys so much. Hit a like on this. Comment down below what you think about the spell book. Until next time, the magic is real. Metazoo.